To kick us off, I wanted to first jump into a little education on website traffic sources. So, how are people coming to your website? There's a lot of different avenues and vehicles in which somebody can find you online. If you think about it, someone may click on a link within your email or your email signature. They might physically type in your URL to visit your website if they know you. Maybe they click on a social media post. There's lots of different avenues. But today we want to focus strictly on organic search. And that definition of organic search is anybody that goes to a search engine, think Google, Bing. Yes, people do use Bing, and type in some sort of phrase that you show up for, and they click on your website and end at your website. So that's called organic traffic. Now, I mentioned we do marketing for over 650 businesses every month. We look at thousands of businesses analytics on any given year. And a trend that we are seeing over the last 12 months is that we're really seeing a decline in organic traffic pretty much across the board. Many of our customers are starting to see this. Many people we don't work with are starting to see this. There's this trend in a lessening of organic traffic to websites. And I don't want you to just take our word for it. Ron, if you click to the next slide, this is actually something that is kind of universal across the internet. This is an article, and Kat, I think she's actually on the call, who sent us this article. This was posted as recently as 4 days ago from BBC, and it talks about the changes within Google's algorithm. And they posted a really neat chart, which is on the next slide, that talked about the impact that the changes in Google algorithm is seeing on traffic to a lot of different websites. So you'll see here, this is a chart of some of the winners and losers of these changes within Google. Now, on the left-hand side, you'll see a lot of the losers, and a couple that stuck out to me. Some of these I know, some of these I don't, but can you imagine being, managing oprahdaily.com, and they have lost 60% of their organic traffic since September 2023. I mean, just imagine that. Imagine losing 60% of walk-ins to your showroom, or 60% of your projects. I mean, this is a huge deal for online, websites that rely on a lot of this online traffic. And I'll also add, when you think about that organic traffic, somebody that's typed in a phrase, that is a quality visitor. That's a visitor you want to make sure is finding you, and you make sure is capturing, and you're speaking to that client. So they've lost 60% of that traffic. On the other side of it, what's so interesting is that Reddit, very common, what would you call it, Ron? Like
It's a form of social media.
a forum, I guess you could say,
Yeah.
a posting forum, has increased their organic traffic 126%. I believe the article said that they just posted, 50% increased earnings in Q1 because of all of these changes and this influx in traffic. So this is something that's happening universally. It's not just within our industry, and we really want to make you aware of it.
Yeah, something I would add for everyone that's tuned in, many of you would say that you get most of your business through referral. And we agree that those referrals are likely going to continue to feed you for years to come. But those referrals are likely going online and reference checking you or doing research. And so that's why Kendall's focus in the last few minutes on the discussion around organic traffic decreasing, that is a traffic vector where a lot of these folks are ultimately finding you online. And if you haven't looked at your Google Analytics, it's something that you and or your marketing team should be paying attention to. Just a word for the wise. By the way, Google Analytics is free. So the software doesn't cost anything, and that's something that you should be able to log into. And if you need help with logging into it, just reach out to us. We'll try to get you connected to the right people here to make sure you're seeing it. Now, you may be wondering, oh my gosh, why has this happened? And I know that we asked ourselves, why is this happening? And the answer is that the internet is changing. Technology is advancing, right? Technology is something that is going to continue to push forward. Think of all the technology innovations in your life, anywhere from TVs and radios to cell phones and cloud computing. And now we have this thing called AI. and AI is here, just as a demonstration to this inflection point in time. And there was actually a very specific date where the world very suddenly changed. And that date, if you really zoom in here, it's around November of 2022. Because what happened in November of 22, ChatGPT from OpenAI was released. At that time, it was ChatGPT 3. And all of a sudden, there's a free tool out there called Google Trends. You can go to your browser tab, type in Google Trends, and you can see what are people trending and searches for on Google. And you can see this really dramatic increase in searches for people searching for AI tools. And, just last year, there were 10,000 tools. I know this year, we're probably already approaching 20,000 tools that have popped up, whether they're companies or the outputs from those companies. And many of you have probably been dabbling or playing or using with these tools. I know here at One Firefly, our IT department just turned on Gemini in our Google Workplace. That for some of us that are testing that out, so that's brand new. We have a ChatGPT Teams account here at One Firefly. I've been playing with, of course, Dolly is embedded in OpenAI ChatGPT. But there's so many of these amazing tools. Well, what does that mean? So when you look out, like predict, here at One Firefly, we practice a business system called EOS. And one of those tenets of EOS is that as leaders, you want to predict what's coming, what's going to happen to your business. And we started to predict that there's going to be a lot more content filling the internet. And if that content is filling the internet, what's going to happen? So think about poor Google. I know when you think of sad stories, you're like, oh, woe is me, poor Google. They have to figure this out. Well, they had to figure out, how do they continue to show quality content when someone does a search versus all of the noise that's filling the internet. And it's a very complex three-dimensional chess match in terms of an exponentially growing internet and an exponential influx of new content. And how do they ultimately deliver your business? You're watching an SEO webinar. How do they show your business on that page one of search so that your referrals can reference check you and call you up and go, hello, I'd love to give you lots of money to do really cool things in my project? Well, that is the quandary. So Google started to release major algorithm updates. Algorithm updates are changes to the way that search works. So think of somebody that maybe saw a home automation system at their friend's house, and they were at the country club playing some golf, and they said, oh my God, when I get home at night, my lights automatically turn on and my family feels so much safer. And they go, well, how did you do that? Well, I called Acme Integration. And they then go and they start doing searches. Hey, who's the best home automation company in my town? Well, does your business show up or do your competitors show up? That's the question. If you don't know the answer to that, one of your assignments after this webinar is go to Google and start typing in those queries and find out, are you showing up or are competitors showing up? Well, Google's been very actively making changes to the way search works. This article actually came out in March. This is just a handful of weeks ago. Google came out with another one of their major algorithm updates. And in this case, they're clamping down on what's called low quality content. Now, low quality content does not by definition mean AI content, because you can actually have very strong AI generated or AI supported content. Low quality content is not adding anything new to the internet. It's the one of the same as everything else out there. And if that's true, they are reducing the importance or the relevance of your website, and it's not going to show up as well on page one of search. In some of the extreme cases, websites are being completely delisted or de-indexed, meaning, oh my gosh, they used to have lots of traffic and now they have minimal traffic. So one thing that Google did, they actually did this in December of 2022. Interestingly, 1 month after ChatGPT came out, is they came out with recommendations on what you and I can do, we as marketers on your behalf, you as business operators, what you could do to impact the validity and the authority of your brand on the internet. And so they have an acronym, EEAT. So you can demonstrate experience. We have here on the slide ways that you can do that. You can demonstrate expertise, authority, and trustworthiness. And when you look at your current marketing strategy and your current efforts to define and control your SEO online, what you will probably realize, if you reflect honestly, is there's probably a lot more that you can do with your brand online to demonstrate the EEAT acronym, these actions you can take to make your business more trustworthy on the internet. One other thing that we want you to be aware of is how page one of search looks today. Today, May, almost June. I know my son has one more week of school. Almost summertime. This is how internet search Google page one looks right now. And it's very different than how it looked last year. So let's just quickly reflect on last year. You'll notice that paid ads were at the top and the bottom. Today, for the most part, paid ads are generally still at the top and generally still at the bottom. It's not completely true all the time in all markets. It's generally true. Why? Because that is how Google makes money. They are selling you ads, you and me ads. So they want us to click. But if you notice, green is the organic result. That's all the hard work through SEO that you're doing to make your website presented on page one because you're the authority on the subject matter. Well, you notice when we look over to the right here in May of 24, there's a lot less green real estate. There's less green real estate. The shortcut there is it means it's harder to get placed there and there's less of it. It is more scarce. It's a scarce resource. So you need to do more as a business if you want to show up in the organic placement. And then yellow, well, that's the new ball game. That's called zero-click search results. Very big breaking news just came out in the last week or so. I think we have a slide on it that generative search is now here in various parts of the country. In addition to your Google business profile, your featured snippets, people also ask, your Google Map 3-packs, all sorts of different real estate now showing up on page one that if you aren't as a business very mindfully directing and orchestrating how you show up, you are not showing up in all of that real estate, but your competitors might be. And that, if you have no other takeaway from this webinar, that's what you should walk away with. The game has changed. So here, when you Google generative search, this is the breaking news. As of May 14th, this is 2 weeks ago, generative search has started rolling out across North America. Now, when Firefly has been telling you this was imminently going to happen, we've actually been talking about this since September of last year. It was available for you to trial in Google Labs with a little flask under your personal account. Well, now it is being opened up and it is available. It seems to be random right now. Kendall and I were actually just doing some tests
Different
last night.
searches would also bring it up versus not bring it up. It was interesting.
Yeah, it's curious how and when. Also, if you really dig deeper, its results are a bit sketchy right now. Sometimes they're really good results. Sometimes they're not good results. Well, the reality is Google has Gemini, their AI, and whatever else is under the hood, crawling the internet, trying to decipher and determine answers to queries you're typing into Google. And they're trying to give you an AI-generated response. And it is likely, you see an example here on the big image. They're also going to give you the source websites for where the content that they've crawled that's helping them generate that. Well, if you think about your business, you want your business to be the source of the information that the AI is crawling and processing to ultimately answer the question of that consumer, which means the content and the effort on your website now needs to change, which means the efforts that one Firefly is directing on your behalf need to change. The game is now very different than it was in the past. You can all but forget what you knew about SEO prior to today. Because what we need to do as integrators that want to show up in reference searches for our customers and for our architects, designers, and builders, you now need to do new things. And so when Firefly has adapted, Kendall's going to give you a little bit of a preview, and then I'll jump into the specifics.
Awesome. Thanks, Ron. So when we were putting together some of these solutions, the first thing we wanted to look at is, what does the umbrella of SEO contain? Many of you may have had people doing SEO for you or have worked with an SEO specialist before over the years. But there are really 4 pillars of SEO that make up that umbrella. We have your local SEO, we have your on-site SEO, offsite, and technical SEO. So these are the 4 pillars. And then what we did when we were looking into these pillars is we wanted to look at 2 different things. One, what aspect of each of these pillars will have the biggest impact on their algorithm, right? The biggest impact, make the biggest impact to get you showing up as high as possible. We wanted to look at that. And then we also, sorry if you want to go back 1 sec, Ron, we also wanted to look at the relevance to our industry too. So all of these practices are sort of the practices that you could follow, whether you're an e-commerce site or all of these, a social media site. There's lots of different portions of the algorithm. So we pulled out those 2 pieces, biggest impact mixed with what's relevant for our industry, and we put these packages together.